One of the biggest parts of this resilience grit thing is you made a commitment to something. You have a focus. You have a primary goal you're trying to achieve. You stick to it. You made your commitment. There's no changing. No matter what happens to you, you keep going forward. You have to believe in your abilities. You have to have that self-belief. And that's really fuel for resilience. You need that belief. You need to find a way to remind yourself, convince yourself, and truly internalize that you could do something. You could accomplish it. You know there's going to be all these other things you have to work through, but you could do that.
Welcome to Charge Forward Coaching, the podcast for committed athletes and individuals who want to achieve more on and off the field. Hosted by James Blasco, certified mental toughness and resilience coach. You'll gain insights and inspiration from elite athletes, coaches, and others who know what it takes to excel. Are you ready to go to the next level? Then tune in, get inspired, and let's charge forward. Now here's your host, James Blasco.
Hi, and welcome to the Charge Forward Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, James Blasco. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about resilience. Now, we're all familiar with how important it is to be resilient, to not give up, not quit, those types of things. But how many of us really concentrate on improving our resilience, or what some people call grit? So let's talk a little bit about first what resilience really is, and then how to improve our own resilience. Because if you want to have the mindset of a champion, it's critical. Resilience, grit, it's the key. It's the key, at least one of the major keys to a champion's mindset. Because if you give up along the way, whether it's in training, in the moment of a game, or so forth, right, your career, it's hard to be a champion. So we have to understand what it is first, and then how to improve it within ourselves. So let's talk a little bit about what resilience or grit is. And Angela Duckworth, who wrote the book Grit, she defines it as passion and perseverance. Now, passion isn't just something, it's fly by the night, something you have an interest in now, and maybe today or tomorrow or next month, your interest level isn't as high. Passion and interest is about something that really you focus your life on. It's something that you feel is so important to you, whether it's striving towards a specific accomplishment or learning how to do something better. No matter what it is, what you're zeroed in on and focused, that interest is there pretty much forever. It could be the center of your life's focus. And with that, you don't stop. That perseverance comes in because no matter what you're doing, you're going to have challenges, setbacks, things you're going to have to learn or adjust to and change. And if you're passionate and if you have that interest that drives you, you just need to team it up with perseverance and don't stop. Look at setbacks as things you can learn from, have that growth mindset. There's a story of a gentleman. His name is Alex Zanardi, and you might know his story. He was a race car driver, Italian race car driver, and he worked his way up to Formula One. And he had tragedy in his personal life. His sister died at an early age. He kind of was held back for a little bit from doing the types of things he wanted as a child, as a young man, because his parents were obviously scared that maybe they would lose him too. But they got over that. They allowed Alex to be the person that he was, and his passion was auto racing, and specifically getting into Formula One. And he had a really good career. And then in one race, he was in the lead of the race with about 13 laps to go. He came out of the pits, and something happened. His car spun onto the track, and he got hit by another driver going over 200 miles an hour. And instantly, his legs were no longer there. He hit the front of the car, and his legs were destroyed. It took him a long time to recover, obviously. He was in a coma. When he came out of the coma, one of the first thoughts he had was not, woe is me. His first thought was, wow, I got to figure out how I can do all the things I want to do in life just with no legs. So that's what I'm going to do. And so he had one of the most positive growth mindsets you could possibly have. And he went on not only to do some other great things that I'll mention in a second, he went back to the track where he crashed. Thousands of fans showed up. He went by himself in his car, and he completed the last 13 laps of that race. And he didn't just drive around slow. He went fast enough that he would have qualified in the third row of that race. That's how fast he was going. So he took that opportunity. He had to get that out of his system. He didn't want that race, that crash, to define him and really put him in a box. He wanted to finish that race and then move on. And he got into being a paracyclist, and not just any paracyclist. He went on to be a world champion, winning many, many races, won several gold medals in the Olympics, and then became a triathlete. And so he just lived his life. He had a passion for everything he did. Competition was definitely one of the passions that he had at the highest level. And unfortunately, he ended up getting in another serious accident during one of the events. And to this day, he's still recovering. But Alex is looked at as one of the most positive growth mindset individuals out there. And if you have a chance to read about his story or watch some of the documentaries or videos, I highly suggest you do that. When you hear him speak, you'll feel what I'm talking about right now. That grit, that resilience, that passion and perseverance, not just for what he's doing on the racetrack or in the Olympics, those types of things, but just in life in general. So real quick, let's talk about how the 4C's, I always talk about the 4C's of mental toughness. Hopefully you've learned a little bit more about those now. What kind of role are those playing with resilience, and what is resilience doing within the 4C's? So first, let's talk about control. Part of resilience is controlling your emotions, right? When you have those difficult periods, those challenging times, those major setbacks, your emotions are going to be there. You don't want to ignore them, but you do want to manage them and control them and use them constructively. And next is commitment. Maybe one of the biggest parts of this resilience grit thing is you made a commitment to something. You have a focus. You have a primary goal you're trying to achieve. You stick to it. You made your commitment. There's no changing. No matter what happens to you, you keep going forward. You may have to adapt, maybe do something differently, but you continue to go forward. Next is challenge, because you're going to have setbacks, right? And things that trip you up a little bit, but you got to accept those and learn from those. Make sure learning is a big part of your process in your journey, because that's really going to help you to adapt and modify things so you can continue to persevere and work towards that goal. Last is confidence. You have to believe in your abilities. You have to have that self-belief, and that's really fuel for resilience, right? It's like putting the gas in your gas tank. You need that belief. You need to find a way to remind yourself, convince yourself, and truly internalize that you could do something, you could accomplish it. You know, there's going to be all these other things you have to work through, but you could do that. So hopefully this information helped. Do check out Alex Zanardi's story. It is amazing. And don't forget, you could always go to chargeforwardcoaching.com. We have a great way for you to understand a little bit more about yourself and mental toughness and resilience, and actually learn specifically what areas you might want to work on, or what areas you're already pretty strong in. And that's through an assessment we call the MTQ Plus. It's by AQR International, one of the top psychometric mental toughness research companies in the world. And I highly recommend you go to chargeforwardcoach.com, check it out. We could always book a free discovery call. I could explain a little bit more about the assessment, also about the coaching services that I can provide you, and you could go from there. So that being said, make sure you like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. But most of all, keep charging forward.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Charge Forward Coaching. Remember, the journey to greatness is built on mental toughness and consistent effort. So head on over to chargeforwardcoaching.com and book a free discovery call to take the next step in your journey. Until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep charging forward.